work because this is a last resort. Can anybody see or hear me here? Because this is a bit crazy. Let me just go back to the other live stream on the PC and just see where we go. Can anybody give me a like if you can see this and whether it's working? Let's just try this out. Because it does seem to be working. Okay, let's see how we go with these. Can anybody see this one? Or hear it for that matter? Hearing would be better. Let's have a look here. I'll check the chat out on this thing. And we'll see whether we can manage this anyway. I know I'm here. Visual is good. How's the sound? That's the important thing. Sound, question mark. Because that's the important thing. Yeah, go sound. Visual is good, so we've got sound and visual, so that's good. I'm going to have to run with this one. Let's close all this other shit down. And hi, and welcome to the live stream. I've got to look at this camera now. I do not know what went wrong. It fucked up big time, and it fucked up comprehensively. And I am a half an hour late. So, sound and vision, cool, not a problem. Okay, so we're going to go with this on my phone here. I know it's in the wrong aspect ratio, but what can be done? Welcome to the live stream. I kept looking up there. I've got to look down here. Yeah, so sounds like everything has gone good. I will close down the emergency laptop, which didn't work either. Makes for good content, says DB Cooper. Okay, and Richard says, no worries. Yeah, so as you can see, it's winter. It's cold, it's miserable. And the bloody thing's not working. Oh, nightmare. So, let's have a look here. You're just going to make sure everything's put away the way it should be, because this is very delicate equipment that I've got. My Osmo Pocket I was trying to use for the live stream, and that didn't work either. But how is everybody this morning? It's the second day winter at the moment, and yesterday was an interesting day, and I'll tell you why in a moment when I put this stuff away. Because, like I said, delicate equipment. Yeah. Oh, you did stick with me, Dick. That's lovely that you guys did. And I've got to remember, default, if it doesn't work on the big PC, is to use the phone. So, yeah, listen to the... I should get out alcohol. Cold, windy, some rain in Toronto. Sunny late spring day in Portland. I actually went through Portland once upon a time in 1998 on the train from San Francisco to Seattle. Yep, thank you, Damien. Appreciate that too. Oh, what a way to start the day. It can only get better. So I've got a few things for this live stream. I've got a bit of marry, death, kill. Marry, bonk, kill. I've got some movie news, just general chat as well. So we're doing just a little bit of everything on this one. If the sound is a little bit muted, I've got the phone just resting against something. Richard says, better could do with an espresso. I've actually got coffee here. I've got the dregs of a coffee here, and a very strong one. I made myself a very strong coffee. Franny has been teaching board games to a poly board game meet. Cool. Jim Vim says, just obtained prosumer mic from Lumix. Nice. Nice setup. Mine used to be a nice setup, but I'm not sure what happened. I might do a test live stream just to make sure that everything is working at some stage. But that sound thing is a nightmare. And really, it's just put me off my pace, to be honest with you. It's totally put me off my pace. So yesterday, first day of spring. Hey, I can gesture, and the gestures look really big. First day of spring. I started. Hi, Evil Pixie from Morecambe. Happily, it's rainy and windy. It'd be nice if somebody could bring you sunshine in Morecambe, which is a meta comment. Yesterday, first day of winter, and it was actually quite nice. It was sunny. It wasn't too cold, and I started a project from my other channel, my travel channel, which is this one. If people want to look it up, if you don't have it already, for that channel, and the project is insane. Yeah, it could be the codecs or bitrate between YouTube and the encoder Friday. I'm going to troubleshoot it later. Hi, Patrick in New Mexico. So yesterday, I started a new project for the travel channel because I want to get that one going so it actually generates some views and some income eventually. I had this mad idea. Tell me what you think of it, because I've got Sally's feedback on it, but I wanted feedback as well from people who are punters. Thank you, Deborah. And Dick's tripod broke last night. Couldn't do today's video. Dave Tech problems for both of us. Yeah, well, when you get to our age, Dick, the tripod does break sometimes. But anyway, here's the project for the other channel, the travel channel. I decided I needed to get fitter. So here's what I'm doing. There are 15 or 16 train stations between where I live and the city of Melbourne. So what I've decided to do is walk between all the train stations between Werribee and Melbourne City. Now, I'm not doing it all at once. The first one between Werribee and Hoppers Crossing was about 4.5–5 kilometres. So I've done that when I've recorded the video, and that's going to be the next video on the travel channel. But I'm going to walk between all the train stations between Werribee and the city over the next however many videos, and it's probably going to be about 40 kilometres or so. Tom loves the travel channel. Hi, Ross. Jim Beaver says, church yard sales, Thin Man set, carry on, Universal box set. Oh, nice. Under 20 Canadian dollars. Yard sales are great. The swimmer for trains, yeah, absolutely right. It's like the swimmer for trains. And that's what I'm doing. So I've done the first one. I'll probably record the second one on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on where you live. And I'm going to go from there. The next one's a little harder. It's probably about 5.5 kilometres to get to Williams Landing. Next couple I'm going to do as one because it's easier. And there's one of them that's about 6.5–7 kilometres. So I'm going to be doing that over the next lot of videos on that channel. And it's also, it helps me get a bit fitter. I'm feeling kind of okay after doing the first one, even though I did cover some rough country with it. I'm feeling okay. A little bit of kind of sore ankles, but not too much. So that's the plan for the other channel. Yeah, Jim Bim says, keep active, share footage. Interesting, yeah. So, yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Friday's got DVDs, says, I cast a manuscript, In the Mood for Love. Swallows and Amazons, Jan and with the Pink Floyd. Nice. Yeah, that's Luna. Luna wants to go out, but I'm not letting her out. because I'd have to let it back in, and it'd be a whole thing. So that's the plan. I've actually got it mapped out. I've done the Google Maps on this crazy um, journey that I'm going to do. The first one was interesting. There was a little bit of a glitch, but we'll see how we go on the walking. I've kind of learned some lessons. I've also got some targets to do when I'm doing the walking thing. I've got to do 5 street photography photos in each one, and there are a bunch of other things as well. So it should be a bit of fun. Ralph says, walk from station to station, then ride back, train back to the car. Yeah, I am. That's basically the plan. The train line's it's fairly frequent. So what I do is each time I go one more, I just take the train back home. There's going to be some interesting ones further in because there's an enormous statue of a Chinese goddess when I get just past Footscray, which looks out to sea. It's the Chinese goddess of the sea. And it looks out towards where all the ships come in and out of port. And it's about 20 meters tall. Enormous statue. So that's the plan for that channel. And to be honest with you, I kind of like the idea of it. And it means I'm training for doing more travel videos where I'll walk around. Because I'm pretty sedentary. I don't exercise a lot. So having something that rolls YouTube in with exercise is a genius move for me. So that's going to be the plan. And the first one, as I said, is coming out on Friday unless I decide to release it earlier. No, Sally's not. No, Dick. Sal's sleeping. She's had a little bit of a rough patch, and so she was up late, and then now she's sleeping in. Jim Boom says, cost of streaming versus owning physical media. I prefer physical media. I don't trust streaming services not to censor things. So I prefer going to the original media wherever possible. Tom says, good hiking shoes are essential. Your feet will thank you later. Yeah, I've got proper walking shoes for this one. They're nicely padded. They're nice and wide for my enormous feet. Should be cool. All the best from me. Carol says, Dick, good. Thank you, Dick. Donna Pass Whiskey said, enjoyed the Deefa sci-fi review. Have the Silent Star. The DVD set appears to be out of print, which I bought it years ago. Yeah, that Deefa one was crazily good. And the quality of the original media is great. There's not a glitch in it anywhere. I just love that Deefa one. And while we're on the subject of movies, I've got a little bit of a show and tell. I haven't bought a lot of media lately. I'm still paying off the credit card from all the other things I've got. Angela says, do I need a new beanie for my head? Angela, if you want to make me a beanie, I'm happy to. I think Sal's talked to you about that. I need one for a large head. Deborah says, physical media, my preference. Streaming is only ever a license to watch. Yeah, absolutely. Evil Pixie said, I started walking up and down Morecambe Prom about 8 kilometres in January. Now up to walking about 30 kilometres every other day. I've lost 32 kilos. So I say go for it. Thanks for the vote of confidence. It's going to be an adventure. And then I'm not sure what I'll do after that, but I can roll it into other walks. It's a scalable event. Jim Beaver says, art school side pref, tactile streaming here. Gone tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this place is full of physical media. I've got stacks of it everywhere. Franny, Luna would never wear a beanie. You try to put clothing on that cat, and she will hate you forever. She will not let you do it. You want to come up, Luna? Come on. Come on, baby. Come on. Good girl. Come on. Do you want to come up? Come on. I think she wants to come up for a cuddle. You coming up? Let's see if I can grab her. Just hold on a sec. Hey, baby. Come on. Come on. Come on. Ah. Come on. Here we go. No, she doesn't want to, do you? You want to? Nope. Ah. She's got a bit random on us. Oh, a mouse with catnip would be great, Angela. Thank you. But yeah, she's been meowing, and now she's going to leave me alone because I try to pick her up. Yes, she's coming through. Normally, she will jump up and sit on my chest while I'm on this computer, but she's not at the moment. So we'll just see how we go with this. She may well turn up later in the live stream. That reminds me, I've got to make sure. Yeah, I've got enough battery on the phone to continue the live stream. Yeah, Candice. Luna is a lovely cat. She's random and mad, but she's also very loving. She give in the mornings. Usually, I get the cuddles. In the evenings, Sally gets the cuddles. So she's very, very even-handed with the both of us, which I really appreciate. But anyway, movie hall. Let's have a look here. I disorganized things when I was trying to get that laptop working, so I've got to grab everything again. Yep, there it is there. Yeah, so who wants to see a movie hall? Because I've got one. And some of it's good, some of it's kind of okay. So I'll wait for somebody to give me a response because I'm a needy person. Dick says, yes, please. By the way, Dick, post a link to your channel, mate. I want to give you a boost if I can. So feel free to post a link to your channel here in chat so that people can subscribe to your stuff. Okay, movie hall. There was a buy one, get one free at JB Hi-Fi this month. And so I bought one, got one free. So what I did get, the first thing I got was Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, which fantastic. By the way, is this stuff coming up mirror image for you guys or not? Is this like mirror reverse? Because I'll see if I can change that because I hate that shit. Oh, it's coming up mirror reverse. Let me just try this way. No, that didn't work. Mirrored. I hate that. Why is it doing that? I hate that stuff. Hey, I didn't know I could do that. Let's just not do that then. Hang on. Get the green screen off. Sorry, it's going to be mirror reversed. I can't help it. And I'm not going to try to figure around with it in case I endanger the live stream. So first one, Nosferatu. Cool. Love it. I did get Anora as well. Which is fantastic. Definitely a really interesting film. And I enjoyed it when I watched it. So there we go. I got Anora and Nosferatu. I'll tell you what I'll do, Dick. I'll actually grab your channel off my YouTube and I'll post the link. Won't be a sec while I figure around with that. Let's see, because I have subscribed and I will give people the link. So the time we boost up, let me have a look here. Subscriptions. Show more. I've got a lot of subscriptions on YouTube. So many of them. Here we go. Oh, there we go. So there. More. I've got the link here. Let me have a look here. And I'll just pop it up, as they say in the classics. There's Dick's YouTube channel for people. There we go. Hey, Doug, how you doing? Only mods can post links usually, Friday says. Okay, yep. There we go. We've got it covered. And, yeah, it's a new channel. And as with all of us, Dick's on a learning curve there, which is a pain in the ass, I know. but I'm always encouraging other people. One of the lovely things about YouTube and a lot of creative stuff online, not all, but some, is that it's cooperative. It's a community. It's not competitive. You're not doing the capitalism rat race shit. You're trying to encourage people to do the things they're passionate about, do the things they really enjoy, all of that kind of stuff. That stuff matters, and I think that's an environment in which I'm more comfortable too. Okay, hang on. I forgot there's a Vegemite badge on the front of this hat. Yeah, so that's why we're doing it, Dick, because it is a cooperative environment, and I want to encourage that as what this channel's about, and to encourage it in a larger context as well, because I hate competitiveness. I think it's a pissing contest that doesn't actually mean anything, really. Um, if you encourage other people and you give them advice and you nurture them and let them get over their apprehensions. And yeah, everybody hates their own voice when they first hear it online. Everybody hates the way they look. Everybody's got all of these glitches and things in there. But if you can help other people punch through that, the world gets to be a better place. So that's what we're doing. Dick says, having to replace the tripod tomorrow and get my next video up, a haul one ASAP. Absolutely. Do you know the name of the film where the monster is made up of shapes in the house? Just subscribe to Dick Parsley. Ken, I don't know. Does anybody else have an idea what movie that might be? So yeah, that was the first movies I got anyway. So we'll get back to the movie thing. Demon Seed could be, yeah. Yeah, Demon Seed sounds right, Patrick. Thank you. I got one of my vulgar movie pleasures, science fiction vulgar movie pleasure. And it's on 4K. I've actually had the Blu-ray, so I'm going to pass on the Blu-ray to someone today. I've got a friend coming over at lunchtime. The Core, one of the great fun science fiction movies of the 2000s. I love The Core. I love the ensemble cast. I love the concept of it. It's old school science fiction adventure. Save the world, reboot the planet, all of that stuff. It is a banger. Love this one. And when I got the opportunity to upgrade on 4K, buy one, get one free, I thought, I've got to get The Core. I think if you're passionate about a movie, you'll do that. And I'm going to give away my other copy of The Core. So, got those. I actually bought another movie too, which, strangely enough, I already had another copy of it on 4K. So I'm putting that away for something special. Ralph says, funny that I mentioned Stanley Tucci on the cover. The Tucci is great in this. Him and Delroy Lindo have a great chemistry between them. Actually, I'm going to sit a bit closer to the phone because I want to look a bit bigger. Then I've got a couple of things. People remember that I go to Laverton Market and buy DVDs and Blu-rays from a little stall at the market. I found out those people actually have a shop in St Albans, which is where I did my last travel video. And I went in their store and picked up a couple of things. And got to remember, all of this was $5, 5 Australian dollars, which is like 20p in the UK and about 5 cents in America. I'm just looking at the chat. At the Earth's Core's fine, DB Cooper. I love a good Doug McClure movie. So I got Amadeus. I didn't have a copy of Amadeus. I checked the database before I got it. So this was part of the $5 haul. Haven't watched it in a long time, but I like the film. A lot of fun. I got that. And I also got Baraka, which is a mind-blowingly good film. Visually incredible. Didn't have a copy of it. And the discs are all in good nick. Because I did check, because, yeah, you do. So the discs are in pristine condition. Lots of love for Saturn 3 on this on the chat. How many people went to see Saturn 3 just to see Farrah Fawcett's tits? Be honest, because I know I did. And I'll wait for the chat to percolate on that. Boomer Doug is named after Douglas Fairbanks. That's cool. Also got this weird Sylvester Stallone movie from the 90s. David Frey says yes. Driven with, it's got Till Swigert, Burt Reynolds, Sylvester Stallone, Gina Gershon, Estella Warren. That one. Dick says, I was too young, but I saw them when it was shown on TV. To be honest, they're not the best boobs on screen. Let me know what you think of the best boobs on screen. Friday says, I went to see The Robot. I was young. I did enjoy them when I got there. Angela says, I remember going to see Barack at the Botanical Gardens. We all punched a few cones beforehand. Yeah, why not? Visually stimulating movies, you're going to punch a few cones. The last bit of the haul, and I'll take this apart because these are a little stiff in the box. Jim Vim says, yes, Farrah was foxy. Saw 80s TV, great. Saturn 3, terrible perform. Absolutely. I love the fact that they dubbed Harvey Keitel's voice. That was a mistake. Okay, these ones I picked up and blew the budget on because I did. Shock. Shaw Brothers horror movies from Imprint. They didn't send me this one, so I went out and bought it. And these are really fun. The three movies are The Oily Maniac, The Seeding of a Ghost, and Sex Beyond the Grave, which I didn't know was an option. Doug says, just watch the original Rocky. People forget it's a beautiful love story, not just about hitting people. Yeah, but I'm kind of not fond of movies that are full of chronic traumatic encephalography. Farrah had a small role in Logan's Run, but just too busy watching Jenny Agutter. I agree. Kirk Douglas, Lucky Bastards, Space Date with Charlie's Angels in OG. Yeah, I mean, that age difference is just so of its time. But anyway, these movies, I watched them, and I'm going to review them in my next video. So that's the review for the next video. So I'm not going to tell you too much about them. But they are great. Seeding of a Ghost. Sex Beyond the Grave. The Oily Maniac. And for those of you who care, there's a lot of nudity in these films. For horror movies, there's a lot of boobs and butts, which for Hong Kong films in particular wasn't rare because it was category 3. But it surprised me a little bit because I was expecting horror movies when I started watching these because I didn't do my homework before I did. And yeah, there's a ton of boobs and bums in it. So big in favour of that. Yeah, Dick, they're great. It's a great box set, and it took me down a rabbit hole of trying to find 1970s and 1980s Shaw Brothers horror. I'm settling in now. After that kerfuffle at the start of the live stream, I'm settling in. So there is that. Now, I do have some movie news because I thought I might as well do this. Hi, Henrik. How you doing? Yeah, I did find some movie news, which is kind of interesting. I'll give you the good news first. We won't bury the lead on this. Ridley Scott is done with Alien after revitalizing the franchise. I think I've done enough. And I can only say, yes, you have, Ridley. I don't like Ridley Scott movies. And Ridley Scott, in his 80s, He does this lazy thing when he makes films now, and I found this kind of interesting. He sets up like 15 cameras to film all the shots, and then just gets the editor to pick the best one. There's a kind of weird laziness about the way Ridley Scott makes films now. You don't understand people being lazy when they've had that many birthdays. Friday says, good Ridleyance. Yep, so um, the Alien franchise never really grabbed me. Yeah, the first two were okay. I didn't mind them at all. And the third one was a missed opportunity, David Fincher one. But yeah, okay, they're monsters and they do this stuff. And they will, yeah, stick things on your face and shoot eggs down your throat, which is just such a fellatio-like thing. Um, yeah, so Alien, not that. Predator, on the other hand, Predator's got some legs. With the reboot of Predator that came with Prey, which is a fantastic film. We've got it on 4K. Prey was a banger of a film, taking the monster out of its original, out of the context from the original movies, and putting it in colonial era America with First Nations people. Genius move, fantastic, love it. So, but yeah, Alien, not so much. It's like, don't make another Blade Runner movie. Don't need it. Don't want it. There's nothing that needs to be said that hasn't been said. A couple of other things. There's a new trailer for the third Benoit Blanc movie, third Knives Out movie, with Daniel Craig. It's called Wake Up Dead Man, and it looks really good. It's kind of got a horror aspect to it, and it's yeah, it looks interesting, and I'm kind of fascinated with the Benoit Blanc films and that mystery kind of stuff. Ross says, love Prey, looking forward to the Predator films this year. Yeah, I want to see what they do. I don't know whether they're going to be successful or not. And unlike a lot of other people, I'm not going to speculate about that. But on the other hand, definitely, I want to see where they go with it. Ferroni says, controversial opinion. I got sick of all the Blade Runner versions. Oh, and I prefer the OG theatrical version with the narration because it makes it a film noir. I can respect that point. I didn't mind the second Blade Runner movie. I think that one had some beautiful visuals and some great acting in it. Not from Harrison Ford. Jim Beam says, Aliens IMAX 1986 special screening, magic, great times. Okay. Yeah. To be honest with you, Doug, Daniel Craig's accent got better in the second one, in Glass Onion. Henrik says, what's a threequel I would like to see? That's a good question. Let me see. What movies did we only get two of? As a general rule, Henrik, I want to see the next story. I don't want to see people reiterating the same one. I want to see something new. I want to see something original. I want to see something with someone new's voice, which is why I really appreciated Sinners. Black American voice, fantastic director. Ryan Coogler did some things in Sinners that blew my tiny little mind. I want to see new stories. I don't want to keep seeing the same things in franchises. Having said that, I'm really looking forward to Fantastic Four First Steps. And I probably will go to the premiere of that, or the preview of that. The big red carpet jobby. I think I'm getting a ticket to that, so I'm looking forward to that. Dick says, for Carol, she only likes Alien because of Jones the cat. Yeah. I can respect that. The cat's cool, and the cat's smart enough to get the fuck out of there. Evil Pixie says, just watch Amber Mid Thunder in Novocaine. It was okay, but Prey was great. I do want to see Novocaine, but I'm not kind of waiting for him. Let's see. Patrick wants to see Superman. Yeah, I want to see Superman too. I love James Gunn stuff. I think he's an original mind in genre. So I'm totally looking forward to his reboot. I'm totally looking forward to how it's going to piss off fanboys. I'm just going to prop this up a little bit more and see if I can get a better angle here, which I probably can't. Yeah, that's no better, but we'll leave it as it is. Deborah says, I'll be forever grateful for you convincing me to see Sinners. Absolutely, yeah. See Sinners if you haven't. Briefcase Blade Runner said, signed by Douglas Trumbull, never sell, Jim says. Cool. And Ripley goes back and saves Jonesy the cat, absolutely. Henry says, how about Wayne's World 3? Have you seen Mike Myers lately? He's had so much Botox, his head looks like a guest alien on Star Trek The Next Generation. It's not a good look for a human being. Doug says, I know the look for Fantastic Four. I'm nervous that it will suck. I don't think it will. I think there are enough good creative people in there that it'll work. And there are a lot of practical special effects as much as possible. They did the special effects practical, which isn't the policy in Marvel previously for the last 15 years. So I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four to see what they do. D. Lee says, some of the right people seem to be slating the Fantastic Four film before it comes out. The Eek Women Brigade, look, let them be what they are. The people will reveal themselves through what they say about movies that don't come out yet. So just let those people be what they are, is my approach. Got to prop that up better. There. That's better. I managed it. Carol says, I'm here but a bit medicated due to pain, so leave it to Richard to comment. First two Predator films are brilliant. Absolutely, Carol. And take care of yourself too. Look after yourself. Do the meds. Do what you need to do. Tom says, I think Alien Romulus is made for a new generation of moviegoers who never watched the previous entries on the big screen before. I think it was just a greatest hits version. It's a disappointing movie. Franny, thanks for mentioning that. Am I looking forward to Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein? Yeah, because the trailer just dropped on YouTube with Oscar Isaac in it. Ignore that. With Oscar Isaac in it. It is interesting. And I like what Guillermo does. And Guillermo del Toro has been trying to get his Frankenstein movie made for a long time. And it looks suitably gothic and early 19th century. It's got a fantastic look at it. Jim says, last proper science fiction film, Interstellar. I hate Interstellar. And I'm going to tell you why. Interstellar is about daddy issues. And I can't stand movies about daddy issues. Dean says, yeah, there was a glitch, Dean, and that's why I'm using my phone instead of the computer to do the live stream, because the audio stuffed up. Just so everybody's caught up on this. Header from Texas says, also hate Interstellar. I think from the science aspect it works. But chucking in the daddy issues thing, So what else have I got? Yeah, so basically see the Guillermo del Toro trailer if you can. See the one for the new Knives Out movie. There's so much interesting stuff that's coming up. Let me see what else we got. On the news front. There's a good thing. There's a good headline here on the AV Club. Clint Eastwood is not one of those directors who lose their touch with age, says Clint Eastwood. I'll leave that one there because Clint Eastwood's not a person I particularly like. Juggling these screens is getting to be a bit funny. Ross says Stranger Things Series 5. I haven't been following Stranger Things. Foreign says, sad to hear that Peter Kwong Rain in Big Trouble in Little China died. Yeah, absolutely. Dean Johnson says, speaking of Zemeckis, Ari's best days behind him. Yeah, of course they are. Robert Zemeckis is a stunt filmmaker. He will use new technologies. He did Polar Express because nobody had made a CG movie quite like it, and it turned out to be a ride through the uncanny valley. Zemeckis did some good movies at one stage, but I don't know whether he's relevant or not in the current times. Ralph Hodge says Phoenician Skin. I want to see that. I haven't seen it yet. Haven't been to the cinema for a few days. Deborah says I'm going to see Bring Her Back tomorrow. I want to see it this week sometime, but I don't know when because I've got a couple of things on. But I am going to try to see Bring Her Back. Maybe down at the Sun in Yarraville. Henrik says Inception or Tenet. I'm going with Tenet. I like Tenet. I like the idea. I like the acting more in Tenet than I like in Inception. I think that works. And I've got Tenet on Blu-ray. I don't have Inception. Sorry, I've got Tenet on 4K, but I don't have Inception on 4K. Candace says, did anyone see Hereditary? I wonder why it didn't do Sinner's size box office. It was original and very scary and well acted. I haven't seen Hereditary, but I hear good things about it. But Sinners on the big screen worked, and I'm going to get it on 4K when it does come out. Ralph Hodge says, in August, Honey Don't looks great. Ethan Coen film noir with a lady detective. I'm looking forward to that as well because I saw Ethan Coen's last movie and enjoyed it. But Honey Don't looks a lot of fun. Very queer friendly. Damien says, hated those CGI films. Yeah, I mean, they're better now, but Polar Express was a shocker. D. Lee says, my beef with Interstellar is the number of times Michael Caine recited that Dylan Thomas poem. Yeah, do not go gentle into that good night. Cruel, old age, whatever it is. I haven't had enough coffee and my coffee is now empty. This is why I need an in-house barista. If I'm going to live stream, I just need somebody to mainline me coffee. And Nolan's insistence on the soundscape of Tenet is borderline ableist. I understand your point there, absolutely. I watch things with subtitles sometimes because I'm lazy, not because my hearing is bad, because for a person of my vintage, my hearing is quite good. But if you want to have bad soundscape in a Christopher Nolan film, look at Dunkirk. That boom sound thing he put into Dunkirk made it almost unwatchable for me. By the way, I should mention super chats are available because Sally keeps telling me to mention those things. So, do people want to play a round of Marry, Bonk, Croak? Which I'm supposed to say it that way. Because I've got three choices here. You got to choose to marry one, bonk the second one, and end the third one. Carol says, not good at understanding films like Interstellar. Even reading the book, I still had to get Richard to explain it to me. Not everyone has the same skill set and the same knowledge, Carol. Don't worry about it too much. Candace says, does anyone get the ending of Inception? Is Leo alive at the end? Does his totem fall over? I'd say yes. And Nolan says yes. Yeah, that Dunkirk sound is annoying, Henry. Absolutely. So people want to do a Marry, Bonk, Croak? Because I've got some hard choices for you. But yeah, Dunkirk annoyed me. Carol says, saw Inception, I understood with a bit of help. Ken says, go on then. Okay, here you go. Sorry about the cough, but I got a bit of a nose thing. Marry, Bonk, Croak. Young Ava Gardner, young Marilyn Monroe, or young Catherine Deneuve? What are your choices on that? Marry, Bonk, Croak. Deborah says, retired professional musician here. I adore Nolan's soundtracks. Okay, that's interesting. But no, Dunkirk just didn't work for me. The sound, I don't know whether it just triggered my PTSD or not, but the sound in Dunkirk pissed me off enormously. So we've got Marry, Bonk, Croak, Ava Gardner, Marilyn Monroe, Catherine Deneuve. Any takers on that? No? Okay. Patrick says, marry Marilyn, bonk Ava, end Catherine. I would go with that because Ava Gardner was so muy caliente. Candace says, marry Marilyn. She's the only one I know. Okay. Ross says, marry Catherine, bonk Ava, end Monroe. Okay. But young Ava Gardner, if you look at her in One Touch of Venus, yeah. Ken says, marry Nerve, kill Marilyn, bonk Ava. Everyone's saying bonk Ava. Except Evil Pixie. Marry Ava, bonk Monroe, and Catherine. Friday says, marry Catherine, bonk Ava, and Monroe. Dick says, croak Monroe, bonk Catherine, marry Ava. That's an interesting one. Angela says, bonk Ava, marry Catherine, croak Monroe. Okay, they're interesting choices, but the consensus seems to be that everybody wants young Ava Gardner. Now I can understand that. We'll go with an easier one now. We'll start out with an easy one. Ready for this? Marry, bonk, croak. Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, Pepe Le Pew. There you go. Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, Pepe Le Pew. I'll leave that one for you to figure out. Ross says, marry Bugs, bonk Pepe, and Elmer Fudd. Friday says, yeah, but you marry Catherine, you get to bonk loads with consent. Carol says, marry Bugs, bonk the skunk, end Fudd. Candace says, marry Bugs, Pepe will be better in bed though. Okay. Ken says, bonk Le Pew, kill Elmer, bonk Fudd. Because Pepe Le Pew, I think he's got a bad rap. I think it's time to redeem Pepe Le Pew. Evil Pixie says, marry Elmer, bonk Pepe, and Bugs. Though Bugs does tend to cross-dress. And I'm not sure if the Bugs Bunny isn't in some ways non-binary. Friday says, marry Bugs, bonk Elmer, and Pepe Le Pew. Take one for the team, but Fubba Pepe has to go, okay? Okay, next one. I'm gonna leave the really hard ones for last, but I've got one that's kind of interesting. Marry, bonk, croak. Thanos, Mark Ruffalo Hulk, or Eric Banner Hulk. So you got Thanos, Mark Ruffalo Hulk, or Eric Banner Hulk. Got to go fun. He's a millionaire and owns a mansion and a yacht, says Patrick. So we got Thanos, the Ruffalo Hulk, Eric Banner Hulk. I'm a big fan of the Eric Banner Hulk. I really like what Ang Lee did with the idea of a comic book movie. And for me, the Eric Banner Hulk is part of the MCU canon. Nobody agrees, but that's my thought. Ross says, marry Banner Hulk, bonk Ruffalo Hulk, end Thanos. Friday says, marry Mark Ruffalo Hulk, bonk Eric Banner Hulk, end Thanos. Joseph says, Ed Norton Hulk. Nobody likes Ed Norton Hulk because Ed Norton tried to tell the MCU what to do because he's a control freak. Carol agrees with Ross about marry Banner, bonk Ruffalo, and end Thanos. Everyone wants to end Thanos, so that was kind of a stupid one to do. Do you want the really hard ones? We've got two really hard ones here. Richard says, I really like the Hulk, that first Hulk movie. So do I. Angela says, bonk Thanos, marry Ruffalo, croak Banner. I would rather bone none of them. Yes, Angelo. I understand. Dean says, is the MCU dead? No, it's not. It's not going to die. It's too lucrative. Evil Pixie says, marry Ruffalo, bonk Thanos, and Banner Hulk. Deborah says, bonk Banner, marry Ruffalo, and Thanos. The alt-right thinks that Thanos has a point, says Friday. That's only because they want to bonk him. Thomas says, I thought the Young Lee Hulk movie was the best Marvel superhero movie. It looked like it was ripped from the pages of Tales to Astonish, circa 1964. Absolutely, it's an underrated film for me, and I really, really enjoy it. Okay, I'm going to give you the hard ones now. I've got two very difficult ones because everybody in them is a bastard. Marry, bonk, croak. Woody Allen, Kevin Spacey, Michael Jackson. Woody Allen, Kevin Spacey, Michael Jackson. I will wait for that one to. I'll wait for you to vomit into a bucket before you answer that one. Angela says, oh, hell no. My answer to that is killed a lot of them. Ross says, marry Woody, bonk Spacey, and Jackson. I can see a point there. Patrick says, just end myself. I thought these up late at night, so bear with me on them. Evil Pixie says, just no. Just no is a perfectly legitimate answer to this, because there is no good answer to this. Henry says, what's my opinion on Affleck's Daredevil? I think it's a missed opportunity. I do like Charlie Cox's Daredevil. But the Affleck one hit about 5 years before it should have. Dick says, I'd become a monk if those were my choices. A legitimate answer, Dick, absolutely. And Damien says, yuck. Dean says, my connection is wonky. Is this a connected dots game? The names presented are notorious for sexual predators. Yeah, they are. The thing is that this is a marry, bonk, kill. And I wanted to put in some very difficult ones in here. Yeah, they're all predators. Here's some more. We're going back a little further on this one. Marry, bonk, croak. Charlie Chaplin, Errol Flynn, Leonardo DiCaprio, all of whom were fond of young women. Not illegally young women necessarily, but young women. Damien says, too early in the morning. That's because it's 5:21 where you are, I think, isn't it, Damien? Or maybe 6:21 in the morning. So we've got Chaplin, Flynn, and DiCaprio. Ross says, marry Flynn, bonk Chaplin, and DiCaprio. This is the last of these, by the way. And I've got another game to play after this, which is a little more fun and a little less fraught. 6:21 p.m. in your part of America, Candace. Has Luna made appearance? Yeah, she is. And am I okay? Yeah. I just got a little bit of a blocked sinus at the moment, so I get them this time of year because my sinus cavities are a little bit fraught, but I'm doing fine apart from that. I mean, I walked 5 kilometers yesterday, and I'm not under the ground, so yeah. 6:21 says Damien is the time there. Deborah says, bonk Flynn, married Chaplin, and DiCaprio. No, that's harsh. Okay, anybody want a new game? It's 11:22 p.m. in Dover. Dearly says, I'm bored with all the variations on Frank Miller's Daredevil, Kingpin, Electro, Bullseye, Catholicism, Ninja, blah, blah, blah. I like the Punisher movies. I like Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I like Kingpin, played by D'Onofrio. Dean says, love my shirt and hat from the last posting. Thank you. Dick says, bonk Flynn, forget the other two, then become a monk. Yeah, that's your default on these ones, Dick. Okay, new game. Everybody ready for a new game? Here's the game. I'm going to give you the name of 3 actors, and you've got to guess the movie. And I'm not going to make it easy for you. And if you look it up, you're a bad person, because this is all about brain power and movie knowledge. Ernest Borgnine, Angela Lansbury, and John Mills. Which movie did those 3 star in together? Carol says I'm stuffed then. So Ernest Borgnine, John Mills, and Angela Lansbury. Rick says Escape from New York. Candace says a Manchurian Candidate. You're both wrong, but thank you. Ross says Gaslight. No. The Devil's Rain. Dean says no. Let me know when you give up, because when few people give up, I'll give you the movie. So I'll repeat that again. Ernest Borgnine, John Mills, and Angela Lansbury. And I know someone's looking it up, because I'm sure someone is. Eric says Poseidon Adventure. No. Debbie Cooper says Poseidon Adventure. No. And it's not an episode of Murder, She Wrote either. Deborah gives up. That's a shame, Deborah, because I'll tell you why in a moment. Dealey says, no idea, but Ernest Borgnine's been resurrected according to the last episode of Doctor Who. Don't watch Doctor Who. Dick says, Voyage of the Damned. No. Macau's Navy. No. Says, no. Tom, no. The one where Ernest can't find love in black and white. No, it's not Marty, Candace. It's not Marty. He won an Oscar for that. Had trouble getting jobs. Suddenly wins an Oscar. Okay, I'm going to tell you, because there's an Australian movie. Actually, it was made in Australia, but they brought in a whole bunch of people for the leads because people did that in the 1950s. It's Summer of the 17th Doll, also known as Season of Passion, but it's filmed and set in Sydney, and it's based on an Australian play by Ray Lawler, which is still being produced. Summer of the 17th Doll is fantastic. Deborah goes, oh my God. And Friday says, Ernest can't find love. Ironic is he was notorious for dating a lot. Yeah, Friday, he married Ethel Merman for about 3 weeks. But I haven't watched that one for a long time. I'm going to try to find a copy of The Summer of the 17th Doll, also known as Season of Passion. Ross says, sounds interesting. I have to check that one out if I can locate it. Yeah, I really like it. It's an interesting concept, interesting story. And it's one of the classics of 20th century Australian playwriting. Damien says 17th Doll, yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you want a hard one. Do you want a hard one, which is kind of interesting as well? Ready for this one? Bruce Willis, Robert Downey Jr., and Robert Vaughn. D. Lee says, Ernest's marriage to Ethel Merman wasn't exactly full of love and harmony, as many marriages aren't, except for mine. So here's a movie. Bruce Willis, Robert Downey Jr., and Robert Vaughn. Henry says, Bonfire of the Vanities, nope. Damien says, I've seen the film 3 times. Okay, cool. So we got Bruce Willis, Robert Downey Jr., and Robert Vaughn. Ross says Motherless Brooklyn, no. D. Hunter, no. And it's a movie I love, but nobody knows about. So it's a very, very obscure one. Superman 3 says Dealing up. Last Boy Scout? Nope. Deborah says, oh, I know this. Okay, tell us what it is. DB Cooper sticks his tongue out and laughs. Henry says, Hudson Hawk? No, but I love Hudson Hawk. And just to clear it up, it's not The Player either. The Robert Altman movie. It's not The Player. I'll give that to Deborah. It's something like Inadequate or Adequacy. That's adequate. It's a kind of mockumentary that was made in 1990, which had Bruce Willis, Robert Downey Jr., Ben Stiller, Robert Vaughn, Tony Randall. Friday says Return of Bruno. No, but I like Return of Bruno. Dean says you're asking too much of us considering how muddled our brains are in relation to our time zones. Well, yeah, but that's the way it is. It's morning here, and the sky is getting lighter outside. So what is it? 8:29 a.m. here, and I'll keep this going to a little after 9 because of the delays we had at the start of the live stream. Friday says, sad you can't buy or stream The Return of Bruno. I think it was only released on VHS, as I recall. Henry says, Air America, nope, that's adequate, which is a mockumentary about a really dodgy film studio. And if you can find a copy of it, I'm going to see if it's on YouTube at all, and I'll post a link for you if it is, because it is funny. I like what it does. If there's a copy of it on YouTube, I'm going to give you a link. Let's have a look here. There is a copy on YouTube. Just let me grab the link. But yeah, this one's a very shoddy, dodgy movie, but I'm kind of fond of it. There you go. Bookmark that to watch later. Friday says, I've heard of it but not seen it. The more you know about movies, the funnier it is. And I like it a lot. And they interviewed Bruce Willis. Robert Downey Jr. plays Albert Einstein. It's a mad movie. But yeah, so Deborah won that one. Robert Vaughn plays Hitler in that one. And that's adequate. Tony Randall does the narration. Ben Stiller's in there as well. And his father Jerry and his mother Ann Mira. Lots and lots of people in that movie. And again, the more you know about films, the funnier it is. And I would be happy if it got even a DVD release, because it's only ever been released on VHS here in Australia. So, any questions people want to ask at the moment? No, that can't be it. Robert Vaughn, is that the villain in Superman 3? Yeah, he played that, amongst other things. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. Any questions people want to ask? Candace says, what do I think of Cloud Atlas? I'm not fond of people playing races that are not their own. And there's a lot of yellow face and other things like that in Cloud Atlas, which means that it doesn't sit comfortably with me. Dean says, what's the best coffee in Australia? My advice, if you come over here and you want coffee, is find a roaster that you like. There are lots of really fine coffee roasters around Melbourne. In fact, the one I use is actually in South Australia, which is the next state over to the left. It's called Mahalia, and it's in Roe, but in the south of South Australia. I've actually been to their cafe in South Australia, and they also do free delivery. So I get the beans roasted by them, and they send me the beans and I roast them. So there's just so many good ones. It depends on personal taste. Melbourne's got about 50 good coffee roasters, but they don't do free delivery, so I don't use them. Let's see. Battle Beyond the Stars is brilliant, says Dick. Absolutely, I love it. Did I see Guy Ritchie movie Revolver? I haven't seen Revolver, but I did see his last one. I reviewed his Fountain of Youth, which is a bit disappointing. Franny says, do I watch the Tony and Ryan podcast? I'm not that big on reaction channels. There are some that I like, but I've seen their videos, but they're not particularly my bag. Henrik says, what's a video game I want to see adapted into a movie? There's probably two. Skyrim is one. I play Skyrim a lot, and I enjoy Skyrim. And the other one would be Destiny. Destiny would make a good series of movies, or a streaming series. It's got a lot deep lore. It's got a lot of world building, and it's a lot of fun. So Destiny would be my go-to, with Skyrim as the second tier one. Ross says, I recently discovered Mamie Van Doren in a Doris Day film called Teacher's Pet. Any recommendations for other interesting roles she had to offer? High School Hellcats is probably the one. She didn't do a lot, but High School Hellcats is a lot of fun. Deborah says, I'm off to greet the day, take medicine, have breakfast. Lovely to finally make it here for a chat. Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate that. And keep your head warm. Dick says, always wanted to get t-shirt that said Battle Beyond the Stars is better than Star Wars and wear it to a Star Wars convention. Yeah, go for it. Dean says, is there a link to somewhere we can buy you a good cup of coffee? Not really. There are people who have Ko-fis, but I don't have a Ko-fi. But you can do a super chat here on the channel if you want to donate a couple of bucks towards my coffee addiction. Just that little dollar sign that's in the chat window would be the way to do it. But I actually get my coffee at a good price. I get about 500 grams for about 32 bucks Australian from Mahalia Coffee. And it's good coffee. And it does really well. And I wish this cup was full of it, but it isn't. But coffee, I like. I actually got, when did I last get some good coffee? I was at, top of Mount Dandenong, which is the big mountain to the east of Melbourne. There's a lookout place. I did this on the Travel Channel. And I went to the top of there, paid $8.50, which is way over the price for a decent coffee. And it was a good coffee. I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting it to be good. Because once you get outside the inner urban areas, coffee is very hit and miss here in Australia. Dick says, Friday recently watched the 4K upload print of Battle Beyond the Stars. It's cool. Friday says, do I watch this science fiction series Defiance? Do I think? No, I haven't. Carol says, gasp at you paying $8 Australian for coffee. Then did the conversion to pounds sterling and realised that's average in the UK. Yeah, probably. But here, good coffee is $4. I mean, I have espresso. I don't have milk and other shit in it. Good price here is $4.50 to $5. D. Lee says, for fans of Hammer Horror, the Dark Corners YouTube channel recently did a good look at the career of Michael Ripper. Cool. Christian says, coffee's gone up in price in supermarkets. I think Aldi fresh beans is the best value. I've actually tried Aldi's coffee beans, Christian, and I think they're a crime against humanity. Henrik says, a remake of Carpenter's Thing or Cronenberg's The Fly. By the way, it's not Carpenter's Thing. If you want to go back, it's Howard Hawks' The Thing. And The Fly was not made by... I mean, they are remakes. Both of those, Henrik, are remakes. So make it a remake of a remake. Doesn't seem like something I want to see. I want to see new stories and new things. And I want to see new adaptations of new science fiction works as well. Because a number of my friends are science fiction writers. And so I want to see new stuff. Carol says, love the smell of proper coffee brewing, but cannot stand the taste. There are a few people like that, Carol. They love the smell of it, but don't like the taste of it. It's like the smell of tobacco. You know, like really good tobacco smells nice before you burn it. But then you burn it, and it's carcinogen city. Particularly pipe tobacco smells great before you set it on fire. Friday says, I have a mouse, can't catch it currently. It's currently eating your coffee beans. I'm having a last laugh though, it's eating the cheap beans. Yeah, that's what you really need, is a caffeinated mouse in your house. Get a cat, end of problem. But coffee beans, that's kind of interesting, that is eating coffee beans. But yeah, a kind of hyper mouse is a real worry. D. Lee says, I prefer the originals of both the Carpenter and Cronenberg versions. I think they're different things. I think they're very different. The Howard Hawks, The Thing, is very different from the Carpenter, The Thing. And the original version of The Fly is very different from Cronenberg's. Dean says, what story or novel would you like to have a film treatment? I'd like John D. MacDonald's Travis McGee novels to be movies. But they have to be period pieces in the 60s and 70s. That's the only way it could work. Carol says, our cat growing up, Tibby used to sit and watch any mice and not chase them. That's just lazy, Carol. Damien says, I like Turkish coffee. Yeah, I like Turkish coffee too. It's nice and strong. They don't mess it up with milk. Turkish coffee's good. Carol says, I'm not sure what Roxy would do. I know what Luna would do. Luna would eat them and leave the heads for us to take care of. She's a little hunter, and she's found out that she can't hunt possums because possums are almost as big as she is, and they don't take shit from cats. And we've got a few possums around here, and it's actually, excuse me, it's actually the season where possums have babies in their pouches, because that's the indigenous season. So it's currently the season of the cockatoo, where you see a lot more cockatoos around. And it's also the season when possums have babies. Carol says, Roxy likes chasing spiders and bugs, so I guess she would chase mice. I don't recommend any cats here in Australia chase spiders, because spiders here are notoriously poisonous and notoriously good at biting things and killing them. So I don't want Luna to chase spiders. She'll bat them around. She's quite smart like that. Anything like that, she will whack it around till it's dead. But she won't ung it and get them. Your spiders are scary, says Carol. I'll tell you the spider story. I was once house sitting up in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney. And a friend of mine had a house up there. Very good friends, now deceased, unfortunately, though I am still friends with his son. And I went out the back to turn on the back light, and there was a switch just outside the back door to turn it on. And I touched the switch, but it was hairy. And it turned out to be a large spider, a huntsman, that big, with its legs. It was that big. And so I brushed it away. I didn't kill it because it was in its native habitat. But I brushed it away and it ran away. But it was the biggest spider I've ever seen. And yeah, it was a bit icky, you know. You got that kind of frisson about touching it. But they're not particularly poisonous. They're just bloody big. Friday says, Turkish coffee was the first coffee that I had liked in Bethlehem. Yeah, I went to the Holy Land, had a religious experience, and it was coffee. Yeah, that's a good thing about having a coffee religious experience, Friday, because coffee's real. Dean says, now you're creeping me out. Yep. And Damien says, if cats get mice, take it to the food bowl, leave it to clean up what was left. Yeah, we kind of take care of business because they leave it to you as gifts. Our previous cat, Jack, used to leave mice heads out the back door just lined up for us, which is very sweet and very nice. But Jack, unfortunately, is dead, though we do have a photo of him up in the lounge room. Let's see how we're going for time. Yeah, we've got plenty of time here. So I'm just wondering what I'm going to watch next because I haven't decided what I'm going to watch next time I watch things. Dean says, line up mice. Says, that cat has OCD. No, he didn't have OCD. He was just himself. He was a special cat. And Friday says, coffee is scientific if you watch James Hoffman. Absolutely. Are you sure he wasn't leaving the mice heads as a mafia message? No, Jack was a very generous cat. Ross says, did you buy that Eureka Creamy box set? No, I can't, unfortunately. Don't have the money at the moment. But it looks good, and I'm hoping to get it like 6 months from now when I've got a bit of dough. But we will see. David says, better the head than the ass, which I usually got. Yeah, I mean, the head, at least you know what it is. You get an ass, you're kind of going, okay, this is some kind of mammal. I don't know what it is. Heads help you recognize what it is. But this time of year, there's a lot less around for Luna to hunt. She usually hunts skinks, which are kind of small lizards, and their tails detach as a way of kind of dissuading predators. But Luna's got this habit of grabbing the whole skink in her mouth and running inside really fast so we can't see she's got a lizard in her mouth. And then she'll spit it up and play with it in the kitchen. So we've got to be very careful in summertime for skink alerts. I'm just going to try this. I want to see if this works. Yeah, that's my ultraviolet light. I wanted to see whether it showed up on the camera. But yeah, I mean, that's the lovely thing about any kind of cat. Every cat's got a different personality. And I've seen people who try to get the cats to obey what they're saying and to control the cats more than is natural for a cat. But we've always had the belief that you let the cat have its own nature. Yes, you don't let it do things like pissing in the corner and stuff like that. But within very broad terms, you let them be who they are. Jill, our other cat, is very shy and only occasionally will let us touch her and pat her. And she's very vocal. So we let her have that. And Luna's very different from that. Luna's very cuddly and also very insistent when she wants something. But they've each got their own nature, and I've really grown over the years to respect that and let it be, because you have a happier cat if you do that. Florence says, UV usually shows up on phone cameras. That's how I test TV remotes. Cool. Damien says, I save my money getting those Eureka sets. Yeah, Eureka does some fantastic stuff. I did get the Dr. Mabusa set, as you know, from Eureka, and that's a banger. Dick says, last film I watched was Triple Cross with Christopher Plummer as Eddie Chapman, the spy known by the code name of Zigzag. Cool. I know I've seen that, but I don't remember how long ago. I don't remember much about it. But I really like Christopher Plummer's range as an actor. And it was good to see him in the first of the Knives Out movie, Knives Out, to at the end of his career, but still commanding a screen. He's also one of the voice actors in one of my favourite computer games, Skyrim. Skyrim's got voice actors you wouldn't think would do voice acting in a computer game. It's got Christopher Plummer and Max von Sydow doing voice work on the game. And that's kind of mind-blowing. I really like it because suddenly you hear Christopher Plummer when you go up to High Hrothgar. He's Angir, the head of the priests up there. And then you get Max von Sydow playing another character in there. Amazing. Dick says he's very creepy in the film Silent Partner. Yeah, good movie that one too. Elliot Gould, him. Is Susanna York in that? I'm trying to remember. But yeah, good Christmas movie, Silent Partner too. Damien says, what's the first Dr. Mabuse film from the set? Really interesting. Yeah, they're all kind of groovy. I really enjoy them. Friday says, who can forget Christopher Plummer in Star Crash? Probably Christopher Plummer. Not his greatest role, but on the other hand, you've got to catch a check now and then. Yeah, Dick says, Susanna York was in there as well. Ross says, how do I feel about Robin Williams and do you have a favourite role? I like Robin Williams stuff. I think he was a joke thief, but I think he was accidentally a joke thief. When he was doing 300 miles an hour jokes, he occasionally stole other people's jokes. Favourite Robin Williams film? I like him in Shakes the Clown where he plays a mime. He's in that. Probably you'd have to go with The Fisher King, wouldn't you? The Terry Gilliam movie with him and Jeff Bridges. Dean says, I came across a YouTube video of Plummer reprising his role as a Klingon from the last original Star Trek movie for an interactive computer game. Very strange. Yeah, he did a lot of voice work and stuff like that. He was actually good in that movie too. Was that The Undiscovered Country? Where he plays a Klingon general, and he's really nailing it. He's bringing the Shakespearean riz to that. Christopher Plummer was great in Murder by Decree as Sherlock Holmes. He was. My two favourite Sherlock Holmes roles, Nicole Williamson in The 7% Solution, and I think it may be Christopher Plummer in Murder by Decree because he gives us a more human Holmes than anybody else did, as indeed did Nicole Williamson in 7% Solution. Ross says, Fisher King is great. Dead Pale Society changed my world, though, and it's an important one for me. That's fair enough. Carol says, Robin Williams in What Dreams May Come. Interesting idea about the afterlife. I'm not that big on afterlives, Carol. I think movies that are kind of dishonestly Christian cheese me off a little bit. I'm not that big on Christianity. I mean, there's a couple of science fiction movies where the first 2/3 of the film are like alien abduction movies, and the last bit is full of Christian propaganda. Are there any current actors of Plummer's caliber? There are any number of actors who are fantastic at the moment. Just so many of them. Vincent D'Onofrio, hell of a good actor, doing comedy roles and then doing Kingpin in the Daredevil stuff. Fantastic actor. Oscar Isaac is terrific. The Tooch, Stanley Tucci's great. Does an acting role, then goes and eats food in Italy for a documentary. Female actors, there are any number of fantastic female actors as well. I really like, if you're talking about female actors, I really like Natasha Lyonne. Is anybody watching Poker Face Series 2? Henrik says, Terry, have I ever been slightly impressed by Mark Wahlberg's performance? No. The guy doesn't try. Yes, he may get ripped for a movie. Yes, he may exercise. But I don't think he has the intelligence or range to do anything that's really interesting. Damien says, those are my favourite Sherlock Holmes films, along with Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, that's fun too. Billy Wilder doing a Sherlock Holmes movie. There's no reason not to love that. Ross says, haven't seen series 2 yet, but her Criterion Closet visit was excellent. She fascinates me. Absolutely. Series 2, you know, Charlie is investigating murders. And if you don't know the premise of Poker Face, Natasha Lyonne plays Charlie, who's a woman who can't be lied to. She knows when people are lying, and she investigates murders. In the most recent episode in series 2, she investigates the murder of a gerbil in a school full of little kiddies, and that one is hilarious. Plummer and Shatner do radio together in Canada. Did radio together in Canada, yeah. Carol says there are a lot of actors who just play themselves these days, no range. Yeah, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he's trying to do something else in one of his new films. But I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's going to age well. He's not going to move into other roles. But Pedro Pascal's doing some interesting stuff at the moment too. Friday says Boogie Nights is probably the best thing Mark Wahlberg's been in. Yeah, but I think Boogie Nights is more interesting for the characters around Dirk Diggler than for Dirk Diggler himself, like Burt Reynolds' character and John C. Reilly's character and Nina Hartley's character are much more interesting than Wahlberg is. Friday says Michael Sheen is a fantastic Ranger actor. Got a lot of respect for Michael Sheen because he's opening a theatre in Wales for Welsh productions, and he's using his money to do something useful with for culture and art. And so I've got a lot of love for Michael Sheen, given the fact that, according to 2 different DNA searches, 70% of my DNA is Welsh. And my family, my mother's family in particular, came from Wales, both sides of the family. And part of my father's family came from Wales. Ralph says, we know you like science fiction, but how about sword and sandal and fantasy? Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of fantasy films and things. Thief of Baghdad being the favourite. Sword and Sandal stuff, the Peplum stuff, I don't think it's very good. The Italian Peplum movies are interesting to the extent that you like muscle men. But sword and sorcery ones, particularly the ones that were done in the 1980s, that mostly went to VHS, are a lot of fun. And there are also things like the Magic Sword in the early 1960s and the Three Worlds of Gulliver. Don't particularly like the Sinbad movies that Harryhausen's special effects were used on. But there are a lot of good movies that are sword and sandal and fantasy. Friday says, I'm a quarter Welsh. Cool. Boomer Doug was born in Wales. Cool. Carol says, lots of current films have issues with being dark, the voice track's too low, and then the action scene's too fast so you can't follow what's going on. Have to do subtitles for everything we watch now. Perfectly legit. One of the things about good action scenes is they flow. You can see it in the Bruce Lee movies. You can see it in any number of good action films. And even things like Thunderbolts. There's a lot of really powerful, fast action in Thunderbolts. But it has a flow to it. And it has a method to it. And it's not shaky cam. It's all it's not lockdown cameras, but it's like gimbaled cameras moving between the action and knowing where the action's going to be. But I think there's an art to doing action movies particularly that I think Marvel does as good as anybody. Ralph says, love Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. Yeah, but the thing is with the Sinbad movies is they never get a decent actor to play Sinbad. Doug says, I love the Welsh flag. Absolutely, I've got a couple of Welsh flags around here. Taker68 says, I thought the bolts looked too dark on the screen. I saw it in a very good cinema with a very good screen, a very good projector. But yeah, it does have that tone about it, which is kind of interesting because they're doing that tone. And thematically, Thunderbolts looks dark because ultimately it's a movie about depression and about mental illness. And so that color palette suits the thematic tone of the movie. But now we're going to get Fantastic Four First Steps, which is much, much brighter. Carol says the Michael Bay Transformer films are good examples of what I mean. Yeah, absolutely, Carol. Watching one of those movies is like being an insect on the front of a car that's colliding with another car. Dean says, when I see current movies at the cinema, either there's too much sepia tint or it's saturated. Is my eyesight finally failing me? I can't give medical information on the channel. But they've stopped doing that orange and teal look to films, which they had around in the 2010s. They've stopped using those color palettes and using those lookup tables for that. But movies that are set in olden times tend to have a sepia tint to them. There's a little bit of that in Sinners, but not much. Friday says, Jack the Giant Killer, Sinbad but not Sinbad. Love that movie. Yeah, Jack the Giant Killer works. Doug says, best fight scene ever, Bridget Jones' Diary, Colin Firth, Hugh Grant. That's how guys really fight. I've seen some bar fights that are a little more visceral than that, Doug, but I tended to be looking at them over my shoulder while I was running out the door. The most vicious fight I ever saw in real life was two carnies at a carnival. Those guys really, it was like the fight scene in They Live, compressed into 3 minutes. It was brutal as hell. Dean says, film stock or digital when shooting movies? Here's what I reckon. If you can afford it, everybody would shoot on 70mm film stock. But given that you can't, digital's fine. I shoot all of my videos, except this one, on 4K digital. And there are things you can do with 4K digital that are as good as you can get from film stock to a certain extent. And once you go beyond that, film stock is superior. Though 4K is about the resolution of a 70mm film stock. 8K is better than that. But I think each has a use case, and it does depend on it. I don't care what you make the movie on. If you make a good movie, you could be using a camera on a phone. But I appreciate people who do still use film because they can. And it also enables you to use a whole bunch of different lenses as well. But I don't have a preference. I just want a good story. I want good actors. I want good characters. I want to see something I haven't seen before. That for me is more important than whether it's on film stock or digital. Friday says, best fight They Live. Yep. Henrik says, I think the train fighting from Russia with Love is pretty good. Yeah, it's got a brutality to it that works. They couldn't show as much visceral stuff as they might have, but it's probably top 2 or 3 best James Bond fights. The other thing I really like too is the fights in Bruce Lee movies, where he had to slow it down for the camera. Dean says, before things wrap up, what are your thoughts on Black Mirror? Haven't seen the new season yet, but I like what I've seen in the previous seasons. And I like the variety of stories. It's not just all dystopian technology shit movie storytelling. There are optimistic ones in there as well. And I think that leavening of various kinds of stories really works. Well, it says, some of Cagney's fights feel insanely real. Yeah, I'm not. It depends on how you block a fight. And there are things like the action films that Scott Adkins does have some of the best stunt choreography ever, but they don't get much traction because they're basically there for the stunt choreography. Carol says, "Sorry, Terry, my bed is calling. Feel over. Happy travels. Thank you. Take care of yourself, Carol, and enjoy your springtime. It's got to be heading towards summer over there. But take care and thanks for being part of this." Takeout 68 says, "Brando takes a real beating in the chase. Haven't seen that for a while, but I remember enjoying it." Henry says, "Who's the best stuntman, Tom Cruise or Jackie Chan?" Good question. Jackie Chan. Reason is Tom Cruise does it because Tom Cruise has this Scientology belief system that tells him he's a Superman. Yeah, he does all the stunts and things like that, but he does it to draw attention to himself, and in doing so, that takes away from the film. Jackie Chan stuff is, why isn't that guy dead? He's just jumped down a pole in the middle of a shopping centre or down a whole bunch of scaffolding on the outside of a building. Why is that guy not dead? He's a madman and he's done it real. Tom Cruise, it's to draw attention to himself. And that's the weakness in Tom Cruise. His ego and his preference to highlight himself rather than highlight the story and the narrative and everything around him is the weakness in Tom Cruise. Dealey says, Buster Keaton's fight scene at the end of battling Butler is surprisingly brutal. I have to check that one out, Dealey. Thanks. Jackie Chan, I think, has more self-awareness, says Dean, that we're getting older. See the trailer for his next Karate Kid. I've seen the trailer for that. I'm not a Karate Kid movie fan. I think I may have seen the first one, but not that keen. Doug says, Tom Cruise mostly hangs from heights. Jackie Chan's more athletic, especially his early stuff. Yeah, Tom Cruise is a problematic person. Yeah, the people who work with him love him because he makes them rich. But I think that belief system he has makes him a strange human being from the point of view of every other human being who's not part of that cult. Okay, so I'm going to wind it up here. This has been an unusual one because of the computer glitches. And I think I know what the glitch is now because I've just had something pop up on my screen. Dealey says, Florence Pugh did many of her own stunts in Thunderbolts, including the opening one, but she isn't getting the kudos that Tom Cruise is. I totally agree, Dealey. She actually said to Marvel, if Tom Cruise can do this, why can't I? And they went, yeah, okay. And then she jumps off the tallest building in Malaysia. Gotta love the guts of that woman. Anyway, people, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks very much for being a part of this. It was a total friggin' nightmare. Not because of you, because of my computer. Dean says, take care of yourself and your family. See you. Thank you, Dean. And thanks to everybody else. I mean, you guys are what makes this work. And I really appreciate it every time. And if you're up the north, enjoy your summertime. I'm going to be down here suffering my wintertime. But I'm going to try to generate some heat by doing that travel vlog challenge that I'm doing. So, yeah, look after yourselves. And I'm going to end this now as soon as I figure out how to do it on my phone. Later, guys.